cut it up. I said I video it.
You want to video it with you cutting it up?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
I want now.
Do you think that maybe first that I can talk for a second and then maybe you can cut it up?
Yeah, but...
Folks, Nate and Sam here with Murray Farm and Ranch, coming back to you guys with a cooking video, huh? We're gonna cook something, aren't we? All right, guys. So Sam and I are fixed to get this meat prepared, and I wanted to talk to you guys just for a second about the meat itself. So this is a piece of backstrap from an elk. As you can see, it is a very large piece. I'm big into leaving some sections in larger pieces. If in the very initial butcher job, you cut everything into really small butterfly steaks, or even worse, if you tenderize it all right from the beginning, what you're going to run into is you've limited your options as far as preparations go. And so because I have these big sections, this is about 6 inches long and probably 6 inches wide, you can cook this, 1,000 different ways, 10,000 different ways. But if you've cut it into a little bitty thin butterfly steak and God forbid run it through a tenderizer, now you've pretty much made it to where you have one option, and that's going to be that you're going to chicken fry it. And I mean, that's great, but there's so many other wonderful things that you can do with elk meat. I highly recommend the next time you kill an elk or a deer or moose, whatever, leave some of these pieces of meat in bigger sections so that you've got something to work with. Okay.
Have me cut it now?
What we're going to do, me and Sam, I'm going to show Sam kind of how to cut this first one up, and show you kind of the way that I do this and get it ready. So what I'm going to do is I know I'm showing you how to cut this first one, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my knife over to where this is about 1 inch to 1.25 inches thickness, and I'm just going to slice a nice big thick slice. Now you're going to take that piece and you're going to cut it right down the half. You're going to lay it down on the side. Now you've got these pieces. I'll let you cut. Now you've got these pieces that are about 1 inch thick and about 1 inch wide, and you're just going to cube them up. You're just going to take them and you're going to cut them into little cubes, such as this.
Hey, you post no say cubes because it's for cows.
The cubes are for cows, but we're going to do some cubes for us, and that's going to be in the form of sirloin or elk backstrap tips. Okay, here you go. Make your cuts.
Okay.
So make the first one right there. Good job, being real nice and easy. There we go, good job. Now, make your next one right there. Good job. So now we're going to get our meat seasoned up, and what we've got is some Daddy Hinkles instant marinade. This stuff is delicious. It is out of Cleveland, Oklahoma. I love this stuff on elk, on beef. It's delicious. Sam is gonna marinate this stuff, and it's not gonna be complicated by any means. We're gonna sprinkle some Daddy Hinkles on there. A little bit more. There you go. That's good. And then
I'll put this one.
we're going to just take some regular old Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah, me want to taste that too.
You don't need to taste this.
Why?
Cause. Here. There you go. You just give a few squirts of Worcestershire on, along with our Daddy Hinkles.
We won't do that.
How do you like that? You like that? Okay.
Because we like that toast.
And give it a good stir. Now we're going to let this marinate for about 24 hours. We're going to put it in the fridge and just forget about it. And then we'll catch you back in 24, 48 hours, something like that. And we'll cook up some elk tips. Welcome back, guys. So we've been letting that elk meat marinate for a couple of days, and it is ready to go. So this recipe, one of the things that I think makes it so great is cooking things kind of in batches and then putting it together at the end. And we're going to start with our mushrooms. I typically use 16 ounces of portobello mushrooms. You can use really anything, shiitakes, button mushrooms. If you've been watching our videos lately, you know that we've been finding some morels. And so I'm going to take advantage, and I've got a mix of morels. I've got about 8 ounces or so of morels and about 8 ounces of portobellos. And we're going to start the saute job on those. The mushrooms take the longest, and so you want to start those first, and you just want to let them cook and simmer, and they cook down, and all this amazing flavor comes out of the mushrooms. And what we're going to do to start with is I'm going to take about a half a stick of butter, and I'm going to start melting that. So we've got our butter melted. It's probably about a medium heat. We've got our garlic. This is 3 large cloves of garlic minced. I'm just going to go ahead and dump it in. We're going to let this cook for a couple of minutes and add our mushrooms in. Now mushrooms, they're going to cook down quite a bit. All that moisture is going to cook out of those mushrooms. They're going to shrink and concentrate down, and it's going to be so amazingly delicious. We're going to coat these all in butter. We're going to make sure that everything gets a little bit of butter on it, and then we're just going to let it simmer. So you can see how this is already cooked down just a tremendous amount. We're going to go ahead and add a couple of other ingredients in. So we're going to add some Worcestershire sauce, and there's really not a special amount on this. I'm just going to give it a few dabs. So after the Worcestershire sauce, we're also going to add some red wine. The type of red wine, this is a hatch chili wine from New Mexico. I get a bottle of this or two every time I go elk hunting. You absolutely don't have to use this. What you don't want to use is a super sweet red wine. You want something that's a little bit dry. And kind of like the Worcestershire, there's not like a special amount. This is going to cook down. We may add a little bit more later. But we're just going to go ahead and pour probably something to the neighborhood of about a half cup in. And we're just going to let that just simmer. We're going to move this to a back burner. We're going to let it simmer. We're going to let all this moisture cook down. And that's just going to concentrate that flavor. The next part of the tips, and that's going to be the onions and the bell peppers. And what I like to do is I like to put those on the griddle and get a little bit of a sear char on them. I feel like if you cook everything together, the bell peppers and the onions get too soft and they really lose a lot of their character and their flavor. So I like to cook them kind of by themselves. So what I've got is a griddle that is getting hot. And we're going to go ahead, I'm just going to start batch cooking some onions. So I'm going to throw the onions on here. And I'm going to let these cook for several minutes and just kind of get some dark color to them. And they're going to be some caramelization, I guess is what I'm looking for, the word I'm looking for. I'm going to let them get a little caramelized, and I'll pull them off, and then we'll put them to the side, and we'll add everything back at the end. So these are starting to get some real beautiful caramelization. What I'm kind of looking for is something like that. So we've got those onions off, set to the side. They're here in my pan. I'm going to go ahead and get the bell peppers on. basically it's going to be the same story with them. We're going to give them a cook for about 5 or 6 minutes, something like that. Something where it gets a nice color to them. All right. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and start boiling some water to cook our rice, and then we're going to get everything set up for our to cook the meat, to actually cook the elk tips. All right, guys. So I got my helper back with me. He got out of the shower and he's ready to cook. So yeah. So we got a couple of other things going. We've got some water that's getting hot to boil our rice, or cook our rice. And then we've got, we're gonna, in this saucepan, we're gonna get our gravy mix going. And I do things a little bit different with my gravy mix. This is 2 cups of bone broth, beef bone broth. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add to that 2 packages of just brown gravy mix. So go ahead and pour that in there, buddy.
Okay.
And you want to do that when it's cold. If you put gravy mix in, okay, good job. If you put gravy mix in with it hot, it is going to clump up on you, and so you want to put it in cold and then begin the heating process. Because it'll clump up if you don't. Yeah. All right, guys. So it's time to get this meat to cooking. And what we've got going on is we've got some bacon grease that is heated in a cast iron skillet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this in small batches. I don't want it too close together because I don't want to steam the meat. I want to quick sear it. I'm going to put it in just to where this stuff isn't super close to each other. This is a large cast iron, so I'll probably be able to do this in 2 batches. So what I'm looking for is that dark kind of sear color on the outside, but you only want to let it to get to that color, and then you immediately want to flip it over and let it sear on the other side, and then we're gonna put it off to the side with the bell peppers and the onions to mix together at the end. What I did here is I took my wine and I poured in just a little bit, maybe a quarter of a cup, into this skillet. Good scraping off the bottom. I want all that stuff that was on the that came off the meat, all that seasoning and everything. I want to loosen that up, and I kind of want to make a pan gravy with it. So we've got this pan gravy kind of simmering, and we're going to start adding everything in. So now is where we're going to go ahead and take our mushrooms that have been simmering. We're going to add those in. And we want to scrape everything off. We want every bit of butter and piece of garlic and deliciousness that was in with these mushrooms. We want it all in this pan. We're going to take all of our other ingredients. We're going to take our onions, our bell peppers, our meat. We've got some really nice juice that came out of this meat. We want it all to go back into this cast iron. We're going to take our brown gravy. And it's really thickened up quite a bit. It's looking nice and rich. We're going to take that and we're just going to pour it over the top. Now, you've got a meal right here. Now, if you've timed this correctly, your rice is going to be done about the same time that you pour your liquid in. And so the way that I would recommend serving this is give yourself a nice little bed of rice. Give yourself a generous helping of meat, bell peppers, and onions. Make sure and pour on the gravy. I'm going to serve mine up with a side of asparagus, but really any vegetable is good. I typically do something kind of green with it since you're getting the starches from the rice. Share this one with your friends, folks, because they're going to love it. This is one of the best wild game recipes I have ever had.